I find myself constantly drawn back to the age of the dinosaurs. But what came after always surprises me. As the age of reptiles ended, the terror birds emerged. These feathered nightmares stepped into the spotlight, proving that nature abhors a vacuum, especially when it comes to apex predators. And one species even ventured across the sea from South America to Europe. Roughly 53 million years ago, in the early Eocene, the world was a very different place. It was a hothouse with lush forests stretching from pole to pole, filled with a diverse range of life forms that emerged after the extinction of the dinosaurs. It was in this steamy prehistoric paradise that the first terror bird, Paleopsilopterus, made its debut. Standing at a modest height of 1 meter, or 3 feet, this Brazilian bird might not have seemed particularly terrifying at first glance. In fact, it was about the same size as a modern-day stork, hardly the stuff of nightmares. But appearances can be deceiving, and Paleopsilopterus had something its contemporaries lacked: potential. What set it apart was its agility and speed, traits that would become hallmarks of its descendants. While it may not have been the apex predator of its time, dwarfed by monstrous crocodilians and giant snakes, it was a harbinger of things to come. Little did the other inhabitants of ancient South America know that they were witnessing the birth of a dynasty that would reign for millions of years. As the Eocene progressed, so did the terror birds. Nature, it seemed, had plans for this lineage of avian predators, and those plans involved getting bigger, much bigger. Just 3 million years after Paleopsilopterus took its first steps, a new player entered the scene. Eleutherornis, a terror bird that stood 50% taller than its ancestor, emerged as a formidable predator. But Eleutherornis wasn't content with merely growing in size. It also expanded its range in a way that no other terror bird would match. While most of its kin would remain firmly rooted in the Americas, Eleutherornis spread its wings and ventured across the sea to Europe. Fossil remains of this globe-trotting terror have been found in both France and Switzerland, making it the only known member of its family to have lived outside the New World. I can only imagine the surprise of early European mammals when this exotic predator appeared in their midst, bringing a taste of South American terror to the Old World. But Eleutherornis was just the opening act. As the epochs rolled by, the terror birds continued to grow, adapt, and diversify. It was as if they were engaged in a relentless competition with themselves, each new species trying to outdo its predecessors in size and ferocity. The Oligocene epoch, spanning from about 34 to 23 million years ago, marked a turning point in the terror bird saga. This was a bird the size of a grizzly bear, with a head larger than that of a horse, and a beak that could crush bone. I've been fascinated to learn that recent studies are revealing the unique skull structure of terror birds like Kelenken. It gave them increased bite force and pecking power, suggesting they could take down larger prey than we once imagined, perhaps even some of the megafauna that roamed South America. But the title of the largest terror bird is still hotly debated, with Brontornis giving Kelenken a run for its money. While slightly shorter at 2.8 meters, Brontornis was built like a feathered bulldozer, potentially weighing up to 400 kilograms. This made it not just the heaviest terror bird, but also the heaviest carnivorous bird of all time and the fourth heaviest bird overall. Interestingly, Brontornis has been the subject of scientific controversy. Some paleontologists have questioned whether it was truly a terror bird or even a carnivore, citing similarities in its toe claws to those of herbivorous birds. However, recent studies have identified features in Brontornis's vertebrae that are unique to terror birds, lending weight to its classification as a member of this fearsome family. Whether Brontornis was a terror bird or not, its massive size would have made it a force to be reckoned with. Its weight likely made it slower than its more nimble cousins. But what it lacked in speed, it made up for in raw power. I imagine Brontornis as the tank of the terror bird world, capable of steamrolling over any prey unfortunate enough to cross its path. While the giant terror birds like Kelenken and Brontornis might have relied on their size and power to dominate their environments, many of their relatives took a different approach. Speed, it seems, was just as important as size in the terror bird playbook. Studies of terror bird leg bones have revealed a structure remarkably similar to that of modern-day ostriches. Short thigh bones paired with elongated lower leg and foot bones. This adaptation is a clear indicator of high-speed running ability. Paleontologists estimate that many terror birds, including some of the larger species like Titanis, could have reached speeds exceeding 30 miles per hour. That would make them faster than Usain Bolt, while standing twice as tall and weighing several times as much. But speed wasn't just about chasing down prey. For many terror birds, especially the smaller and medium-sized species, it was also a crucial defensive adaptation. In a world filled with other large predators, including giant carnivorous mammals and enormous crocodilians, the ability to make a quick getaway could mean the difference between life and death. This combination of speed and size made terror birds versatile predators capable of adapting to a variety of hunting strategies. However, as is often the case in science, the truth has turned out to be more complex and nuanced. Recent studies have cast doubt on this simple competition-based extinction model, revealing a more intricate tapestry of factors that led to their demise. The terror birds. For years we believed they vanished about 1 million years ago. But new fossil evidence has dramatically changed that timeline. Some smaller species persisted until just 96,000 years ago. And there's even a tantalizing find. Fossils of an unidentified species dated to only 18,000 years ago. Imagine, they might have survived almost to the cusp of humanity's arrival in South America. One of the main arguments against the competition theory, that terror birds were simply outcompeted, comes from the fossil record itself. Most terror birds, along with many of their South American rivals, disappeared well before placental predators arrived in significant numbers. It seems something else was at play. And then there's the success of Titanis in North America. It thrived and expanded its range during the interchange, coexisting with large canids and felines for millions of years. This suggests that at least some terror birds were more than capable of holding their own against mammalian predators. So, if it wasn't just competition, what doomed them? As is often the case in paleontology, the answer is complex. Climate change likely played a significant role. Today, the tiger reigns as the largest, most powerful, and most skilled of them all. Yet, there was one species that dwarfed even the modern tiger, the Nandong tiger. In the early 20th century, Dutch paleontologists excavating near Ninggandong on Java made a remarkable discovery. They unearthed bones belonging to a tiger, but these weren't regular Bengal tiger bones. They were bigger than anything seen in the modern world. Further research revealed more astonishing details about this huge tiger. For thousands of years during the Pleistocene epoch, the Gandong tiger roamed Southeast Asia, striving to be the apex predator. This formidable beast was larger than its modern counterparts, with adults weighing 20 to 25% more than the average Siberian tiger. Larger males typically weighed over 400 kilin, making them contenders for the title of largest felines ever. It's easy to assume that tigers have always been this large, but history tells a different story. Early tigers, existing long before the Nyandong tigers, were notably smaller. This smaller stature could be attributed to the available prey and the ecological niches they occupied. A smaller body size offered energy conservation and agility advantages. Early big cats related to tigers, such as Panthera paleosinensis, likely averaged around 70 to 120 kilograms in weight. Following them was the Trinil tiger, popularly believed to be the ancestor of all known Indonesian subspecies. I find myself often contemplating the creatures that once roamed this earth, the apex predators that reigned supreme. But even the most fearsome hunters, I've learned, weren't always the biggest. Sometimes nature creates a carnivore so specialized, so perfectly adapted to hunting big game, that it seems almost mythical. The Ngandong tiger, for example. It's a creature that fascinates me. This tiger existed from the early to the middle Pleistocene epoch. The earliest of these tigers weighed between 110 to 150 kilograms. As time progressed, the von Rauwaldtweiger took the stage from the late Pliocene to the middle Pleistocene, boasting a weight range of 200 to 350 kilos. This gradual increase in size over the years, I believe, can be explained by the competition for food among large carnivores. They needed to eat more and gain more weight to compete for that apex predator position. The Ngandong tiger, though, wasn't the only fearsome beast vying for dominance. It faced stiff competition from other carnivores like the Smilyon, giant hyena, and dire wolves. The Smilyon, for example, is known for its long, slender canines that could reach up to 12 inches, capable of inflicting deep wounds on its prey. In contrast, the Ngandong tiger possessed more typical robust canines similar to modern tigers, ideal for crushing bone and delivering powerful bites, though less specialized for deep punctures. This wasn't always effective considering the enormous size of prey then. The Nandong tiger's only chance against such a colossal opponent would be to exploit their limited agility and target vulnerable areas through a surprise or flank attack. However, the Nyandong tiger succeeded more with other herbivores like Rusatimorensis, Malayan tapir, giant rats, gibbons, and wild boars. Despite its many difficulties, the Gondong tiger still earned its place as one of the most impressive predators of all time. Since it hunted alone, its smart hunting skills and ability to target weaker prey, and even sometimes scavenge, shows us how adaptable and tough the beast was. This quality made it thrive for 1,000 years until the extreme climate shifts of the Pleistocene epoch. These included periods of intense cold, with vast ice sheets locking up water, leading to lower sea levels, followed by warmer periods with melting glaciers and rising sea levels. As a result of this, Sunderland was fragmented into smaller islands, leading to the isolated populations of Nandong tigers with limited resources and genetic diversity. From these isolated populations emerged smaller subspecies of tigers, such as the Sumatran tiger, Bali tiger, and Javan tiger. While climate change undoubtedly played a role, scientists propose that the presence of early humans in Southeast Asia might have been among the reasons why the tigers went extinct. They likely caused increased competition for resources or potential conflicts that impacted the Nyandong tiger population. Other factors may have also contributed to their demise. But with limited fossil records, we are left with many unanswered questions. There was once a cat specifically designed for tackling giants. Not too long ago, in Earth's timeline, it prowled our planet. It was the undisputed monarch of the Ice Age, Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat extraordinaire. Its iconic saber teeth and fierce appearance have made it one of the most recognizable extinct predators, solidified by its portrayal in films like Ice Age. But it didn't start out that way. Rewind about 160 years, and I'm picturing myself in Brazil. It's here that our tale begins, with a discovery that would perplex the scientific community. When the first Smilodon remains were unearthed, paleontologists didn't immediately recognize them as belonging to a cat. In fact, their initial guess was way off the mark. Based on some isolated cheek teeth that bore an uncanny resemblance to those of modern hyenas, they dubbed this new find hyena Neoga. However, within a couple of years, the tides of discovery brought forth a tsunami of new fossils. Suddenly, scientists weren't just looking at a few teeth, but a veritable jigsaw puzzle of prehistoric proportions. Foot bones, skull fragments, and those iconic canines, which, by the way, seemed almost comically oversized for any mouth, painted a very different picture. As the pieces fell into place, it became clear that this was no hyena. Instead, they were dealing with a completely new genus of felid, one that was not only massive in size, but also built like a prehistoric tank. This feline was far more robust than any modern cat, a true heavyweight champion of the Ice Age. In light of this revelation, a new name was in order. Thus, Smilodon populator was born. Smilodon meaning knife tooth, and populator roughly translating to the destroyer, or he who brings devastation. It's a fitting moniker for a predator that redefined what it meant to be lethal. With its new identity established, the scientific community dove headfirst into unraveling the Smilodon's family tree. This quest for understanding continues to this day, with researchers currently placing our knife-toothed friend in the extinct subfamily Machaerodontinae. This subfamily is home to most of what we colloquially call saber-toothed tigers, though saber-toothed cats is more accurate, since these ancient felines aren't closely related to modern tigers or any living cats for that matter. In fact, their closest living relatives might be members of the Felinae subfamily, which includes our domestic kitties. Within the Machaerodontinae, Smilodon found itself in an even more exclusive club, the Smilodontini, or, as some paleontologists like to call them, the dirk-toothed cats. This group is pretty exclusive, with only 5 known genera calling it home. But what Smelodontini lacks in diversity, it makes up for in star power, thanks to Smelodon. To put that in perspective, that's about the same as a medium-sized polar bear. Interestingly, unlike many modern big cats, Smilodons didn't seem to be too hung up on gender norms. Studies suggest that there wasn't a significant size difference between males and females, a trait scientists call low sexual dimorphism. In practical terms, this means that regardless of whether you were facing a male Smilodon or a female Smilodon, you were in for equally big trouble. Now, being big is impressive, but Smilodon wasn't just large. It was built like a prehistoric tank. The Smilodon's heel bone was a marvel of natural engineering, robust and elongated. In fact, some paleontologists speculate that these Ice Age acrobats could have outjumped modern lions, which have been observed clearing heights of 15 feet or 4.5 meters. Imagine a cat the size of a bear capable of leaping over a one-story building. But the Smilodon's athletic prowess didn't stop at its fancy footwork. If modern big cats have arms that could crush you, Smilodon's forelimbs took it to the next level. We're talking about limbs that were approximately 20% thicker than what you'd expect for a cat of its size, giving it incredible strength, surpassing even that of the larger American lion. And at the end of those muscular arms, Smilodon was further armed with fully retractable claws, razor-sharp and curved like prehistoric scimitars. They were proportionally enormous, even for a cat of Smilodon's size. We're talking about claws twice the size of a Siberian tiger's. Those impossibly long canines. They've captured imaginations for generations, haven't they? Nature has certainly played around with the saber-tooth design in various creatures throughout history. But it was the Smilodon that perfected it. What made their fangs special wasn't just their presence, but their sheer, audacious length. We're talking about canines so long, they protruded well beyond the lower jaw, a feature that was uncommon even among other saber-toothed cats. Smilodon's canines could grow up to 8 inches long, longer than many modern kitchen knives. They were precision instruments of prehistoric destruction. I've always been fascinated by the Smilodon's forelimbs, even longer than those of a Kodiak brown bear. And those claws, nature's grappling hooks, perfect for latching onto large prey. You'd expect a predator with teeth like that to have a powerful bite to match. But surprisingly, studies have shown that Smilodon's bite was relatively weak, 4 times weaker than a modern lion's. So, how did it kill? That's a question that's been debated for a long time. One popular theory suggests that Smilodon was the original ambush predator. I picture it hidden in dense vegetation, waiting for the perfect moment. Then, with a powerful leap, it pounces on its unsuspecting prey. Using those muscular forelimbs and grappling hook claws, it pins down its victim. With precision, it sinks its saber teeth into the prey's soft underbelly, causing massive internal damage and blood loss. Of course, not everyone buys this gut-stabbing hypothesis. Many researchers favor a different scenario. They propose that Smilodon used its powerful build to quickly overpower its prey, then delivered a precise lethal bite to the throat. This would have caused severe blood loss and suffocation, a quick, if not particularly pleasant end for its unfortunate victims. Adding fuel to this theory is the discovery that Smilodon could open its jaw to an incredible 120 degrees, almost twice as wide as a human can manage. With a gape like that, pretty much every neck in the Ice Age would have been fair game. But Smilodon wasn't just brawn and teeth. Brain scans of Smilodon skulls suggest that these prehistoric predators had excellent coordination, sharp hearing, and top-notch vision. Their eye socket shape hints at binocular vision, giving them the depth perception needed to judge distances accurately, crucial for a predator that relied on ambush tactics. And if all that wasn't enough, they were fast too. Many Smilodon fossils show trauma to their sternums, the kind of injury you'd expect from high-speed collisions. This suggests that not only were they quick on their feet, but they were also willing to risk life and limb in pursuit of their next meal. But most of the bones found in La Brea aren't from herbivores that got trapped, but from predators that got stuck trying to eat the trapped herbivores. Smilodon fossils are the second most common find in these pits, with over 166,000 bones attributed to it. This high number has led some scientists to suggest that Smilodon might have been a social animal. The reasoning goes like this. In modern cat species, the more social ones tend to be more responsive to distress calls. So, if one Smilodon got stuck, it might have called for help, attracting other members of its group who then also got stuck. Another fascinating clue pointing to Smilodon's possible social behavior is surprisingly touching. Some Smilodon fossils show signs of severe injuries or disabilities that would have made hunting nearly impossible. Yet, these individuals survived well into adulthood. This has led some paleontologists to propose what they call pseudo-healthcare among Smilodons. The idea is that these injured individuals— I find it strangely moving to imagine a Smilodon with hip dysplasia somehow surviving into adulthood. The fossil suggests a life sustained not by individual hunting prowess, but by the support of its pride. It paints a picture of Smilodon families looking after their own, a heartwarming image, even if speculative. Of course, not everyone agrees with this Smilodon's social club theory. Some researchers point to the isolated remains found outside predator traps like La Brea, suggesting a more solitary existence, akin to many modern big cats. Whether they were team players or lone wolves, one thing is certain: Smilodons reigned supreme. But even at the top, there's always competition. The Ice Age was an era of giants, and Smilodon shared its hunting grounds with other formidable predators, most notably the American lion and the dire wolf. Those dire wolves weren't quite the monstrous creatures of Game of Thrones, but they were impressive predators nonetheless. Isotope analysis even reveals that their diets overlapped significantly with Smilodons, meaning they were often vying for the same prey. The American lion, one of the largest cat species ever, likely posed a considerable challenge. It probably came down to a standoff. The lion had size, but Smilodon had those unmistakable canines. It seems likely the two apex predators simply avoided each other. But when conflict arose, the outcome could have gone either way. Dire wolves, on the other hand, seemed to fare worse in encounters with Smilodon. Evidence from La Brea suggests they frequently abandoned their kills at the saber-tooth's approach. It's not hard to picture why. Those ever-present sabers were quite persuasive. But lions and wolves weren't the only rivals. The Ice Age was also home to the short-faced bear, a truly enormous creature that could make even Smilodon look small. Some of these bears rivaled medium-sized sauropods in weight. However, these giants were more omnivorous than Smilodon, which likely reduced direct competition. Plus, bears tend to be solitary. A group of Smilodons encountering one likely convinced the bear that the potential reward wasn't worth the trouble. We've discussed Smilodon's hunting adaptations, but how did it even eat with those massive teeth? Those saber-like fangs seem like they'd be quite an obstacle. Smilodon had a clever solution. Specialized slicing teeth called carnassials located on the sides of its mouth. These teeth acted like biological scissors, effortlessly shearing through meat. To eat, Smilodon would turn its head to the side, using the carnassials to slice off manageable chunks while keeping its saber teeth out of the way. It's a technique still used by many modern cats when tackling tough pieces of meat. A prime example of nature's problem-solving. When life gives you saber teeth, you adapt your eating style. With its unique adaptations and hunting skills, Smilodon established a vast territory. Its 3 species spread across the Western Hemisphere, a range that would make any modern predator envious. In North America, Smilodon fatalis and Smilodon populator roamed from coast to coast, reaching as far north as Alberta, Canada. In South America, Smilodon populator and Smilodon gracilis thrived, stretching all the way down to Patagonia. But Smilodon wasn't just widespread. It was also adaptable. Fossils have been discovered in a variety of environments, from grasslands and plains to woodlands and closed forests, from savannas to subtropical forests, and even mammoth steppes. This adaptability allowed Smilodon to coexist with a remarkable array of Pleistocene megafauna. Imagine a world where you might encounter short-faced bears, proboscideans, ground sloths the size of cars, armored glyptodons, the rhino-like toxodons, camels, deer, horses, bison, and even terror birds. It was like a real-life version of the ice levels in every video game, but with far more lethal prehistoric cats. But there was one more species that Smilodon encountered in its final years, one that would forever change the face of the planet: humans. It's believed that our ancestors first crossed paths with Smilodon around 25,000 years ago. Imagine being one of those early humans, armed with primitive tools, coming face to face with a saber-toothed cat. The relationship between humans and Smilodon was likely tense. We were competing for the same food sources. And, unfortunately for our ancestors, by the time humans arrived, only the larger Smilodon populator and Smilodon fatalis remained. Given that Meganterion, a possible predecessor of Smilodon, occasionally preyed on Homo erectus, it's not a stretch to imagine that Smilodon might have considered early humans as potential prey too. It's not even the massive sail rising from its back like some prehistoric fin. No, what truly unsettles you is how perfectly wrong everything about this creature appears. Yet, how devastatingly effective each bizarre feature proved to be. Start with that skull. A narrow, elongated nightmare stretching nearly 6 feet, 1.8 meters long. If you've ever stared into the eyes of a large crocodile, you understand the primal fear that comes from seeing a predator perfectly designed for aquatic ambush. Now, imagine that same sinister profile scaled up to dwarf any modern crocodilian, mounted on a body that could rear up 20 feet into the air. The skull alone weighed as much as a small car, yet it cut through water with the efficiency of a torpedo. Those jaws housed over 60 interlocking teeth, each one a curved, needle-sharp instrument of death designed for one purpose: gripping slippery, struggling prey underwater. Unlike the bone-crushing teeth of T-Rex, built for delivering massive bite forces to terrestrial victims, Spinosaurus's teeth were fishing spears made of enamel. Once those jaws clamped down on a 15-foot sawfish or massive lungfish, escape became physically impossible. But the skull was just the beginning of this creature's aquatic arsenal. Where other theropods developed powerful legs for running down prey across land, Spinosaurus rewired its body for a different kill zone. Its toes were webbed, its legs positioned differently, its entire lower body redesigned for propulsion through water rather than speed across terrain. For anything living in those rivers, the nightmare was the same. The faint ripple at the surface, the sudden silence, and then the 7-ton shadow sliding in after you. And while most large theropods had relatively small forelimbs, Spinosaurus possessed powerful, elongated arms ending in massive claws. These weren't vestigial appendages. They were additional weapons, perfectly positioned for grabbing prey, maintaining balance in water, or delivering killing blows. The creature could literally embrace its victims to death. And then there's the sail, rising up to 7 feet, 2.1 meters, above its spine. This massive dorsal fin dominated Spinosaurus's silhouette like the warning flag of death itself. Scientists debate its exact function: thermoregulation, display, fat storage for surviving dry seasons. But its psychological impact is undeniable. Picture this nightmare rising from murky water. First, the elongated snout breaking the surface. Then, those cold, reptilian eyes. And finally, that towering sail cutting through the air like the dorsal fin of some impossible shark. The thought of encountering Spinosaurus in shallow water is truly terrifying. That massive sail on its back wasn't just for show. It acted like the keel of a boat. It provided stability and control, even in water too shallow for other large predators. Spinosaurus possessed the problem-solving capabilities of a large theropod, the same cognitive tools that made other members of its group such effective pack hunters. Except this intelligence was applied to an environment where most prey had never faced anything remotely similar. Even more disturbing was how Spinosaurus turned drinking water into a death trap. Every animal needed to approach the rivers, and for millions of years, it had been a calculated risk. Stay alert, drink quickly, watch for crocodiles. Suddenly, the riverbank itself became unreliable. That submerged log might be a 50-foot predator. Those ripples might not indicate wind, but the approach of something that could strike from below with the force of a freight train. The fossil evidence suggests Spinosaurus didn't just occasionally venture into water. It lived there. This wasn't a terrestrial predator that sometimes waded in for a meal. This was a creature so perfectly adapted to aquatic life that it spent most of its time submerged, transforming ancient waterways into hunting territories more dangerous than any land predator could create. It didn't just dominate two worlds. It merged them into a single inescapable killing field. And then there were the teeth, conical, dagger-like, built to clamp down on prey that thought the water would save them. Each one angled backward like barbed hooks, creating a living fish trap built on a terrifying principle: easy entry, impossible exit. But the teeth were just the beginning. Recent studies suggest Spinosaurus possessed pre-sensitive organs along its snout, much like modern crocodiles, but far more specialized. In murky river water, where visibility dropped to inches, Spinosaurus could detect the faint press waves of swimming fish from remarkable distances. Prey animals that relied on hiding in dark sediment-filled water were essentially sitting ducks against a hunter that tracked by feel rather than sight. Every movement in the water registered on Spinosaurus's pres sensors. It could track multiple targets simultaneously, predict their movements, and position itself for killing strikes with mechanical precision. Those massive nostrils, positioned high on the skull like a crocodile's, allowed Spinosaurus to breathe, while almost fully submerged, keeping most of its body hidden. The true weapon wasn't smell, it was touch. Its snout was covered in a dense network of tiny sensory pits, specialized for detecting press waves and subtle water disturbances. In murky rivers, this system worked like underwater radar. I sometimes find myself thinking about impossible creatures, prehistoric nightmares that refuse to stay buried in stone. The last Spinosaurus died approximately 94 million years ago. But the questions this creature raises about predation, dominance, and the very limits of survival continue to ripple through scientific understanding. This wasn't a creature that killed when hungry and rested when satisfied. That's how diverse the Paraphysornis were. Powerful teeth, short but deep jaws, and a fifth toe, a feature lost in many modern canids. For over 15 million years, they dominated North America, evolving into an array of forms. Some were fox-sized, others rivaled or exceeded modern grey wolves. And then there was Epikeon, the ultimate expression of the bone-crushing dog. Its name literally means more than a dog. Recent studies of modern canids have helped us understand where Epikeon fits within the larger family tree. The Paraphysornis, it seems, were a highly specialized branch, following a unique evolutionary path, distinct from the lineage that led to modern wolves and dogs. This specialization explains both Epikeon's unusual features and, perhaps, its eventual fate. Within the Epikeon genus, 3 distinct species emerged, each filling its own ecological niche: Epikeon saevus, Epikeon haydeni, and Epikeon elodontoides. All impressive predators, but varying significantly in size and build. The smaller species, saevus and elodontoides, were more gracile, built for agility and speed. But even these smaller species typically weighed twice as much as a modern German Shepherd. It was Epikeon haydeni that truly pushed the boundaries of canid adaptation. Adults reached lengths of 2.4 meters, nearly 8 feet, rivaling a grizzly bear. They stood 90 centimeters, or 35 inches, at the shoulder, comparable to a wild deer. These giants weighed between 125 and 170 kilograms. That's 275 to 375 pounds, heavier than modern leopards and comparable to large jaguars or even a medium-sized male lion, the heaviest canid ever to walk the earth. But size wasn't everything. Epicion's most remarkable feature was its bite. Biomechanical studies have revealed that this ancient canid possessed one of the most powerful biting mechanisms ever seen in a mammalian carnivore. Enlarged premolars, strategically positioned canine teeth, closer to the jaw joint than in modern canids, created a highly efficient biting apparatus. Analysis suggests Epicion's bite force may have exceeded 16,000 newtons, comparable to a large American alligator. The closer placement of the canines to the jaw joint created a more efficient lever system, concentrating enormous force at the tooth tips. A bite that could pierce thick hide, flesh, and even bone. Microscopic analysis of wear patterns on preserved teeth provides direct evidence of how Epicion used its formidable bite. Distinctive patterns of wear consistent with both flesh slicing and bone crushing activities suggest a predator that could efficiently process every part of its prey. Epicion was an opportunistic predator, capable of taking down a wide range of prey. Their fossil remains have been found alongside ancient camels, pronghorns, horses, and peccaries. They even appear to have hunted prehistoric rhinoceros species like Teleosaurus, which could reach lengths of 4 meters and weigh nearly 2 tons. It's likely that Epicion employed different hunting strategies depending on the size and availability of prey. For smaller prey, they likely hunted alone or in pairs, using their impressive speed and power. But evidence increasingly points to the possibility that they also engaged in pack hunting, particularly when targeting larger prey. Nearly all well-studied modern canids exhibit some degree of social behavior, with most species showing higher levels of sociality than the average mammal. And, aside from foxes and some smaller species, most extant canids hunt cooperatively. The fossil record provides further support for this theory. It's fascinating to consider the social lives of ancient carnivores. The abundance of Epicion remains in North American deposits suggests something quite intriguing to me. That they were likely social predators, not solitary hunters as we might initially assume. This idea is further supported by the fact that they seem to have maintained stable populations across their range, a trait often seen in pack hunting species. Looking at the physical structure of Epicion, I see even more clues about its hunting behavior. Unlike many other canids, both modern and extinct, Epicion had a more robust skeleton with heavier bones. While this build might have made them less agile and with less endurance than modern wolves, it would have been a real advantage in close combat with large prey. Studies of their limb proportions suggest they were built for powerful, explosive movements rather than long-distance pursuit. This tells me they probably relied on ambush tactics or short, high-speed chases, instead of the endurance hunting we see in modern wolves. In that case, pack hunting would have been especially useful, allowing groups to surround and overwhelm prey that might have otherwise escaped. But perhaps one of Epicion's most remarkable features was its ability to process and digest bone. This really sets it apart from other large carnivores. Its specialized premolars and thickened molars, with their short, pyramid-like shape and wide bases, closely resemble those of modern hyenas. It's a fascinating example of how unrelated species can develop similar adaptations to exploit the same ecological niche. Fossilized feces associated with Epicyon reveal high concentrations of processed bone material, which confirms this bone-crushing behavior. This adaptation would have given them a number of advantages. First, it allowed them to extract maximum nutrition from their kills by accessing bone marrow, one of the most nutrient-rich tissues available to carnivores. Second, it likely reduced competition with other predators by allowing them to use parts of carcasses that other carnivores couldn't process. I imagine this ability to process bone would have been particularly valuable during periods of scarcity. The Miocene epoch was characterized by significant climate fluctuations, with periods of both warming and cooling, and shifts between wet and dry conditions. During times when prey was scarce, being able to fully use every part of a carcass, including the bones, would have provided a crucial survival advantage. The success of Epicyon is clear from its widespread distribution across North America during the Miocene. Fossil remains have been found in more than 10 different US states and parts of southern Canada, which shows a remarkable ability to adapt to various environments. Paleo-environmental studies have revealed that these ancient predators thrived in a diverse array of habitats, from woodlands and savannas to grasslands and wetlands. I find it especially interesting that Epicyon remains have been discovered in cave systems and edge environments, areas where different habitat types intersect. This suggests that Epicyon was not only adaptable, but potentially strategic in its habitat selection, preferring areas that provided both hunting opportunities and shelter. Their ability to process a variety of foods likely contributed to this ecological flexibility. While primarily carnivorous, the structure of their teeth suggests they could also process tough plant material when needed. This dietary flexibility, combined with their bone-crushing abilities, would have allowed them to survive in a wide range of environments and through various seasonal changes. The ultimate disappearance of Epicyon from the fossil record has long intrigued paleontologists. Early theories suggested that competition from newly arriving big cats led to their extinction. But this idea has largely been discounted, as many of the large cats that would have competed with Epicyon, like the Smilodon, didn't appear in North America until millions of years after Epicyon's disappearance. Current evidence points to climate change as the primary driver of Epicyon's extinction. The late Miocene saw significant global cooling and increased aridity, leading to fundamental changes in North American ecosystems. Paleobotanical studies indicate a shift from mixed woodland savanna environments to more open grasslands. This transformation would have affected not only the types of prey available, but also hunting strategies. Epicyon's specialized adaptations, its heavy build, bone-crushing teeth, and relatively short legs may have become disadvantageous as prey species became faster and more adapted to open environments, unlike their more generalized relatives, which gave rise to modern wolves and other canids. Epicyon's extreme specializations may have limited its ability to cope with these changing conditions. In the dying days of the Cretaceous period, when colossal predators like the Tyrannosaurus rex reigned supreme, creatures such as Triceratops and Hadrosaurs often bear the savage scars of T-Rex attacks. Yet, amid this world of relentless aggression, one creature's fossils remain curiously unmarked by such ferocious battles. It wasn't the tallest, fastest, or most fearsome predator, but with a body armored like a tank and a tail capable of shattering bones, this creature defied the rules of survival, made even the mighty T-Rex think twice. This was Ankylosaurus, nature's ultimate fortress, a living testament to the art of defense in an age of unyielding predators. The story of this extraordinary creature began in the early 20th century, when paleontologists working in Montana's Hell Creek Formation uncovered a collection of unusual fossils. These weren't the typical bones they were accustomed to finding. Instead, they discovered an the discovery of Ankylosaurus magnaventris. It wasn't just another find. It was a window into nature's ingenuity, a testament to the intricate design of one of the most formidable creatures to ever walk the earth. I remember being struck by the sheer audacity of it. A dinosaur essentially built like a biological tank. In 1906, Barnum Brown, a paleontologist with the American Museum of Natural History, led an expedition into Montana's Hell Creek Formation. It was there, amidst the Cretaceous sediment, that he unearthed a strange collection of fossils. They weren't the familiar bones of theropods or the broad frills of ceratopsians, but rather fragments of bony plates, uniquely shaped teeth, and vertebrae suggesting a heavily armored animal. At first, Brown was cautious, speculating that these bones might belong to a previously unknown type of armored dinosaur. As more specimens were found in Canada and the western United States, the creature's physical characteristics began to emerge. Piecing together its skeletal framework was like assembling a prehistoric jigsaw puzzle, each new discovery adding another layer of complexity. What truly set Ankylosaurus magnaventris apart was its robust anatomy and its ecological implications. Fossils were discovered alongside plant remains, painting a picture of the lush environments it inhabited. Over time, advances in paleontological techniques, CT scanning, isotope analysis, have allowed us to reconstruct its appearance and understand its lifestyle in remarkable detail. From the armored plates that defined its body to the distinctive club at the end of its tail, Ankylosaurus stood as a testament to natural engineering. This discovery was groundbreaking, not just because it represented a new species, but because it became the cornerstone of an entirely new group of dinosaurs, the Ankylosauria. These animals, part of the larger clade Ornithischia, were characterized by their extensive armor plating and herbivorous diets. Within this group, Ankylosaurus belonged to the ankylosaurids, distinguished by their massive triangular skulls, stocky builds, and elaborate defensive features. Among all its relatives, Ankylosaurus held a special distinction. It was the largest of its kind ever discovered. Adults reached lengths of 5.4 to 10 meters, stood about 1.7 meters at the hip, and weighed between 5 and 8 tons. It surpassed even the famously robust Triceratops in mass, and rivaled the earlier aquatic predator Spinosaurus. How could such a low-slung animal pack so much weight into its frame? The answer lies in its extraordinary construction. a biological tank meticulously designed for strength and survival. Its skeleton was unlike any other dinosaur, with dense, compressed bones forming a sturdy foundation for its sophisticated armor system. Recent studies of its bone structure have revealed that the bones were uniquely reinforced with internal struts and buttresses, similar to the architectural principles used in modern building construction. This internal reinforcement provided an additional layer of protection beyond the external armor, making every part of the animal resistant to crushing forces. The Ankylosaurus's skull alone is a marvel, shaped like a broad triangle to withstand immense press. Its jaw mechanics, while less powerful than those of a carnivore, were finely tuned for grinding tough plant material. The small but ridged teeth were an effective tool for processing vegetation, suggesting a highly specialized feeding strategy. And the placement of its nostrils and the complexity of its nasal passages indicate not only a heightened sense of smell, but also the possibility of thermoregulatory adaptations. And then there's the armor. The Ankylosaurus's defensive system was far more sophisticated than initially understood. We've known about its bony plates, or osteoderms, for decades, but recent microscopic analysis has revealed an intricate network of blood vessels running through these structures. This suggests that the armor might have served multiple purposes. Protection, yes, but possibly also helping to regulate body temperature, similar to how some modern reptiles use their scales for thermoregulation. The number of these osteoderms remains a subject of debate, with estimates ranging from 30 to well over 100. But their unique construction is particularly intriguing. Unlike other armored dinosaurs that had solid, thick plates, the Ankylosaurus possessed osteoderms with hollow undersides. This seemingly counterintuitive design was actually a remarkable feat of natural engineering. Some specimens show the club could reach over 22 inches in width and weigh around 50 pounds. But the real marvel was in the biomechanics. Computer modeling has revealed that larger individuals could generate impact forces exceeding 20,000 newtons. Even more remarkably, they could achieve swing impulses of up to 4,800 newtons per second. To put that in perspective, a professional baseball player generates about 13 newtons per second in their swing, making the Ankylosaurus's tail strike about 370 times more powerful. Studies suggest that the impact force could have been focused on an area as small as a few square centimeters, multiplying its bone-crushing potential. The life of an Ankylosaurus was as unique as its anatomy. While much of its life remains a mystery, the fossils we've found offer glimpses into its daily routines and survival strategies. Juvenile Ankylosaurus specimens, for example, lacked the fully developed armor and tail clubs seen in adults. This vulnerability likely necessitated group behavior during their early stages of life. Trackway fossils suggest juveniles may have formed protective herds, with larger individuals shielding the more vulnerable young in the center, a defensive strategy reminiscent of modern muskoxen. As they matured, Ankylosaurus individuals underwent significant lifestyle changes. Adults appear to have been predominantly solitary, a conclusion supported by the rarity of adult specimens found in groups. Their solitary behavior was likely a reflection of their formidable defenses, which allowed them to traverse their environments without fear of predation. Solitary adults might have roamed large territories, primarily in search of food and suitable habitat, avoiding direct competition with other herbivores. Some paleontologists have speculated that Ankylosaurus might have used its tail club for intraspecific communication or dominance disputes. This theory is supported by observations of similar behaviors in modern animals with physical weaponry, such as bighorn sheep or rhinoceroses. The display of their tail clubs, combined with body size and posturing, could have deterred rivals without escalating into physical conflict. However, the evidence remains inconclusive, and further fossil discoveries may provide clarity on this aspect of their behavior. Ankylosaurus thrived in the rich and dynamic ecosystems of late Cretaceous North America, particularly in regions that would later become known as the Hell Creek Formation. This area was a mosaic of environments ranging from subtropical forests to open floodplains teeming with diverse flora and fauna. Fossilized plant remains suggest Ankylosaurus inhabited regions with abundant low-growing vegetation, which suited its low-slung, ground-grazing body. The climate of the late Cretaceous was warmer and more humid than today, which supported lush forests dominated by conifers, cycads, and ferns. Its diet was primarily herbivorous, but it had these remarkable adaptations that made it incredibly effective at processing tough, fibrous vegetation. Its broad, low-slung muzzle and simple ridged teeth were perfect for stripping and grinding low-growing plants like ferns, cycads, and horsetails. Unlike some other herbivorous dinosaurs with their elaborate dental batteries, Ankylosaurus relied on its powerful jaw muscles to break down plant material. Recent studies of Ankylosaurus teeth have even revealed wear patterns that suggest a surprising degree of dietary flexibility. While vegetation was its main food source, it may have occasionally supplemented its diet with protein-rich fungi or small invertebrates accidentally gathered while feeding. It's not uncommon, actually. Modern herbivores like tortoises and iguanas sometimes do the same. The digestive system of Ankylosaurus likely included a large, complex gut capable of fermenting plant material. This would have been essential to extract enough nutrients from its fibrous diet. Fossilized coprolites, fossilized dung, attributed to similar herbivorous species, suggest the presence of symbiotic gut bacteria. These bacteria would have played a crucial role in breaking down cellulose, producing energy-rich byproducts that allowed Ankylosaurus to maintain its massive body size. Interestingly, Ankylosaurus's broad midsection might have been a specialized design to house this extensive digestive system. The large gut volume would have provided ample space for fermentation and nutrient absorption, ensuring the animal could survive on a diet of relatively low-calorie plants. This adaptation, combined with its sturdy build and slow metabolism, likely made Ankylosaurus an efficient grazer, well suited to its environment. But it wasn't just its diet that made Ankylosaurus so well adapted. Its sensory capabilities were just as finely tuned as its defensive adaptations. Its most remarkable sensory feature was its highly developed sense of smell. It would have been vital for locating food, avoiding predators, and possibly even detecting mates. fossil evidence reveals that the olfactory bulbs in its brain were unusually large for an herbivorous dinosaur, suggesting its sense of smell was on par with, or even superior to, that of many modern reptiles and mammals. Recent studies of Ankylosaurus skull fossils using advanced imaging techniques have revealed intricate nasal passages. These passages likely played a dual role, enhancing its olfactory capabilities and aiding in thermoregulation. The convoluted structure of these nasal cavities, which created a larger surface area, may have allowed Ankylosaurus to cool or warm incoming air, helping it adapt to the varied climates of the late Cretaceous period. Vision and hearing also likely contributed to Ankylosaurus's survival. While its eyes were relatively small compared to its massive body, their placement on the sides of its skull would have provided a wide field of view. This would have allowed it to detect predators approaching from almost any direction. This peripheral vision, combined with its heightened sense of smell, would have made it difficult for ambush predators like Tyrannosaurus rex to catch it off guard. Though direct evidence for its auditory capabilities is sparse, the structure of its inner ear suggests that Ankylosaurus was capable of detecting low-frequency sounds. This could have been useful for sensing the movements of large predators or communicating with others of its kind. One particularly intriguing hypothesis is that Ankylosaurus may have used its sensory abilities in conjunction with its defensive adaptations. For instance, its acute sense of smell and hearing could have allowed it to detect a predator's approach early enough to position itself defensively, presenting its armored back and tail club to the threat. These advanced sensory capabilities underscore the Ankylosaurus as a highly specialized organism, perfectly equipped to navigate its dangerous environment. The reign of Ankylosaurus came to an end, along with that of other non-avian dinosaurs during the KT extinction event, approximately 66 million years ago. However, its legacy lives on in our understanding of natural design and defense mechanisms. The Cretaceous period was an era of titans. This epoch produced not only the largest terrestrial predator, but also the largest land animal ever known, a true monster mash of epic proportions. While dinosaurs dominated, other species also reached massive sizes, including flying reptiles and marine lizards. Approximately 82 million years ago in North America, the world witnessed the emergence of Dinosaurs, the largest crocodilian in Earth's history. This colossal crocodilian, whose name translates to terrible crocodile, was discovered in the 1850s, when large, distinctive teeth were unearthed in North Carolina. Initially, these teeth were mistaken for those of a pliosaur, a type of marine reptile, leading to considerable confusion among paleontologists. However, they quickly realized that this creature was massive and imposing. The sheer size and unique characteristics of the teeth did not align with known marine reptiles, prompting a deeper investigation. The journey to accurately identify this gigantic predator was significantly advanced by Dr. Joseph Leidy, a leading paleontologist of the 19th century. His meticulous examination and publications played a pivotal role in re-evaluating these remains. Leidy's research corrected the initial misclassification, revealing that the teeth belonged to an entirely different kind of prehistoric creature. The remains of Riograndensis were more plentiful and better preserved, giving us a clearer understanding of the ecological role and life habits of these giant reptiles. Paleontologists estimate that the average adult Deinosuchus measured between 26 and 33 feet in length, weighing between 2.5 and 5 tons, more than twice the size of a male hippo. Some individuals grew even larger. Despite the initial inflated estimates, the reality of Deinosuchus's size remains impressive, solidifying its reputation as one of the largest crocodilians ever to have lived. Among the known specimens, the Riograndensis species stands out. Detailed studies of these large remains, primarily found in Texas, suggest that the largest individuals could reach lengths of up to 39 feet and weigh around 8.5 tons. This makes them not only among the largest crocodilians ever, but also heavier than most dinosaurs, except for the tyrant king, Tyrannosaurus rex. Paleontologist Thomas Lehman, who extensively examined the Deinosuchus fossils from Texas, provided fascinating insights into the biology and growth patterns of these ancient reptiles. His research revealed that the largest specimens exhibited growth rings in their osteoderms, similar to tree rings, offering valuable information about their age and growth rates. Notably, some of the largest Riograndensis individuals showed evidence of rapid growth spurts during their juvenile years, followed by more gradual growth into adulthood. This higher estimate aligns with the physical characteristics of its skull and teeth, suggesting that Deinosuchus was capable of generating extreme biting forces, making it one of the most formidable crocodile forms ever to have existed. The formidable bite force of Deinosuchus, along with its durable and sizable teeth, about the size of a banana, points to its role as a dominant predator of its time. This prehistoric giant was well equipped to tackle the largest prey in its environment. Evidence suggests that Deinosuchus primarily targeted large. Imagine a crocodile so immense it could bring down a dinosaur. That's Deinosuchus, an ancient apex predator whose fossils tell a story of dominance and adaptability. Bite marks on the bones of hadrosaurs are a stark reminder of its power. This wasn't just a big reptile. It was a force that shaped the ecosystems of the late Cretaceous period. The danger posed by Deinosuchus went beyond just hadrosaurs. Its sheer size and strength meant that even armored dinosaurs like Ankylosaurus and other large herbivores were potentially on the menu. Even sizable theropods, like Apalachiosaurus, weren't entirely safe. Certain bite marks found on their fossilized bones have been attributed to Deinosuchus, suggesting it influenced the size and distribution of other theropods in its eastern habitat, becoming the uncontested top predator. Analyzing fossilized feces, or coprolites, has given us direct evidence of Deinosuchus's varied diet. These coprolites contained fragments of dinosaur bones, fish scales, and even turtle shells. Dr. Karen Chin, a specialist in coprolite studies, has emphasized how important these finds are. The range of prey found in these fossils highlights just how opportunistic Deinosuchus was, consuming everything from large herbivorous dinosaurs to smaller aquatic creatures. Deinosuchus likely used ambush tactics, relying on its massive size and crushing bite to inflict fatal injuries. It probably employed a death roll maneuver, much like modern crocodiles, to incapacitate and dismember its prey. This technique involves grabbing prey and then rapidly rotating, using its body weight and momentum. The robust anatomical features of Deinosuchus, including strong neck muscles and a sturdy body, support this idea, painting a picture of a highly effective predator. Interestingly, Deinosuchus experienced a slow growth rate, with growth rings on its osteoderms suggesting it took around 35 years to reach its full size. Even as juveniles, however, they were still formidable predators, sporting considerable size and powerful bites. Adding to their fearsome nature, Deinosuchus had large, thick osteoderms, bony plates that provided substantial protection. These osteoderms not only served as armor, but also supported its massive body, increasing its load-bearing capacity and enabling efficient movement on land despite its size. However, the most impressive specimens, discovered in 2012, have been estimated to weigh an astounding 523 kilo, equivalent to the weight of 8 adult humans combined. To put this in perspective, even the largest recorded Siberian tigers, which are the biggest living cats today, rarely exceed 300 kilos. The American lion's only real competitor for size was the equally impressive Smilodon populator, which could reach weights of up to 470 kilos. However, the discovery of those exceptionally large American lion specimens in 2012 firmly established Panthera atrox as the heavyweight champion of the feline world. What makes the American lion particularly remarkable is that, despite its enormous size, it maintained the agility and speed characteristic of big cats. Conservative estimates suggest it could reach speeds of over 30 mph, faster than any human athlete, and comparable to a charging warthog. This combination of size and speed would have made it an extraordinarily effective predator. The hunting strategy of the American lion likely relied heavily on ambush tactics, a conclusion drawn from both its anatomical features and the hunting behaviors of its modern relatives. Its robust bone structure and powerful muscles would have allowed it to quickly overwhelm large prey, while its long legs provided the burst speed necessary for successful ambush attacks. Fossil evidence provides compelling insights into its hunting capabilities. The discovery of Blue Babe, a remarkably preserved steppe bison in Alaska, bears the unmistakable marks of an American lion attack. Deep claw wounds and distinctive bite patterns that match the predator's dentition. Even more telling are the fossils found at sites like Natural Trap Cave in Wyoming, where researchers have uncovered numerous prey species bearing the characteristic damage patterns of American lion predation. What truly set American lions apart from their contemporary rivals wasn't just their size. It was their exceptional adaptability and territorial dominance. Recent studies of fossil deposits across North America have revealed fascinating insights into their social structure and hunting territories. Unlike modern African lions that typically control territories of 100 to 200 square kilometers, evidence suggests that American lions commanded vastly larger ranges, some extending up to 500 square kilometers per pride. This massive territory was a necessity, not a luxury, given their enormous size and corresponding caloric needs. The fossil record tells us an intriguing story of their social dynamics. While modern lions live in prides of up to 15 individuals, American lion social groups appear to have been smaller, but more efficient. Bone assemblages at key sites, like the Page-Ladson site in Florida, and the Rancho La Brea deposits suggest groups of 4 to 6 adults working together with devastating effectiveness. Their smaller pride size, combined with their larger individual mass, meant each pride needed to bring down fewer but larger prey animals to sustain themselves. Perhaps most fascinating is the evidence of their den sites discovered in caves across the American West. These sites, particularly those found in the Grand Canyon region, show signs of multi-generational use, some caves bearing marks of occupation spanning thousands of years. The walls of these dens often bear deep scoring marks from claws, a behavior seen in modern big cats, but at a scale that dwarfs anything in the present day. Some of these marks are placed over 3 meters high on cave walls, providing tangible evidence of their incredible reaching height when standing on their hind legs. These locations have yielded another surprising discovery. Collections of bones from juvenile American lions of varying ages, suggesting that, like modern lions, they had developed sophisticated parenting strategies. Unlike solitary big cats such as tigers, American lions appear to have invested heavily in cooperative cub rearing, a social adaptation. The bite force of the American lion, it was something truly extraordinary. Imagine a force of 1,800 pounds per square inch, nearly 3 times stronger than a modern lion, 6 times more powerful than the saber-toothed cat, the Smilodon. When I first read about that, it stayed with me for days. That force, delivered through canine teeth that could reach lengths of 4 inches. What lasting impressions did these massive cats leave on human cultures? The end came rather abruptly, approximately 12,877 years ago, coinciding with a broader extinction event. Climate changes, the end of the last ice age, and the expansion of human populations, all likely contributed. A combination of factors pushing these magnificent predators past their breaking point. But now, if we turn our gaze upward, imagine a prehistoric ruler of the sky, an enormous creature soaring overhead, casting a huge shadow, a chaotic frenzy below, prey desperate to hide. This is the Quetzalcoatlus. Discovered in 1971 in Texas, this pterosaur belonged to the Ashdashide family. The paleontologist who found it, purely by chance, recognized it was a monstrous beast. So mesmerized by its size, he named it after an Aztec serpent god, and Northropi after an aircraft manufacturing company. Quetzalcoatlus northropi, the conqueror of the skies. While another species, Quetzalcoatlus lawsoni, was later identified, Northropi always took the spotlight. It has become common knowledge that Quetzalcoatlus is the biggest pterosaur, the largest flying animal in history. Despite its enormous size and cohabitation with the Tyrannosaurus, little is known about its biology. Its wingspan was initially estimated to be wider than an F-22 fighter plane. But paleontologists today believe it was probably between 10 to 12 meters, still larger than an F-16. And it stood roughly the same height as a giraffe on the ground. Some researchers believe it may have weighed as much as 250 kilograms, close to a grizzly bear. For years, Quetzalcoatlus was considered the largest pterosaur to ever exist. However, recent discoveries of larger species have challenged this. One such giant is Hatzegopteryx, the titanic pterosaur from Europe, possessing a similar wingspan to Quetzalcoatlus, but larger in weight and with a bigger skull. Despite falling short in the weight department, Quetzalcoatlus is still the largest pterosaur that ever lived and flew over the lands in North America. Beyond its size, this creature possessed unique features. It lacked feathers and a tail, instead having coarse hair covering its body. And it was toothless. Quetzalcoatlus. Just saying the name aloud still gives me chills. To imagine something so immense, a flying reptile larger than some small planes, existing in our world. It's almost unbelievable. And what's even more incredible is how much we've learned about this creature, overturning old assumptions and revealing new mysteries. Originally, scientists thought that Quetzalcoatlus, like other reptiles, must have been cold-blooded. Now, the evidence points to a warm-blooded creature with an extraordinary metabolism, necessary to support its active lifestyle. While it might not have been the prettiest animal, with its long, pointed beak similar to a modern stork but without the hooked tip, Quetzalcoatlus was certainly remarkable. Further excavations even showed that Quetzalcoatlus northropy's skull was larger than that of Quetzalcoatlus lawsoni, suggesting it was the larger of the two species, and its ability to rotate its head 180 degrees. That would have been invaluable for spotting prey and avoiding ambushes. For a time, some scientists even theorized that Quetzalcoatlus may have been flightless, spending its life on the ground because it was simply too heavy to fly. This idea never really took off, so to speak. A recent discovery of remarkably light, almost potato chip-like bones suggests that flight was indeed possible, perhaps even easier than we initially thought. This discovery, however, led to a new question. How did it even take off? Some paleontologists believe it launched itself into the air by flapping its wings, or perhaps by lurching forward on its wingtips, like a vampire bat. Another theory suggests it crouched, then launched itself 8 feet into the air to gain enough room to spread its wings. Its strong hind legs would have provided the massive push needed for such a jump. One study even suggested that Quetzalcoatlus was a remarkable flyer, engaging in brief bursts of powered flight before gliding, potentially reaching speeds of 80 miles per hour. But as time passes and scientific understanding advances, we're beginning to piece together a clearer picture of the habitat of this unique creature that once ruled the skies of the late Cretaceous Maastrichtian age of North America. It most likely lived in various settings, including coastal regions and inland plains, landscapes that provided ample opportunities. The thought of encountering Quetzalcoatlus, these colossal creatures, makes me grateful to live in a time beyond their reign. Imagine skies filled with something so immense. From what I've gathered, the creature had several options for hunting, nesting, and roosting. It seems that Quetzalcoatlus lawson may have lived in swarms in alkaline lakes. They're supposed to be sociable wading birds after all. Quetzalcoatlus northropy, on the other hand, was most likely a solitary hunter, living freely in the inlands. But it wasn't the only giant that roamed the earth freely. Fossils resembling creatures like the renowned Tyrannosaurus and Torosaurus hint at the possibility of their coexistence with Quetzalcoatlus, although conclusive studies are still needed. Along with the iconic Alamosaurus, Quetzalcoatlus may have crossed paths with other herbivorous giants and fearless predators, such as the mighty T-Rex, Dromaeosaurus, Triceratops, Albertosaurus, Edmontosaurus, and Dakotaraptor. In the skies, Quetzalcoatlus likely shared its space with other pterosaurs, such as Pteranodon and Nyctosaurus, coexisting with each other within these extinct ecosystems.